This is a Sightmark Ultra Shot QD or Quick Detach digital switch sight SM14000. I've had this sight for about 4 months now. I've taken it out on several range days and used it on several occasions, and I've used it in different conditions, from sunny weather to overcast to slightly rainy to colder weather as well. The sight retails for $119 at this moment. You can find it for cheaper on other websites, usually around $95. When I purchased this sight in March, I got it for $85 after tax. However, when I received it, the batteries that came with it, one, weren't charged, they were used, and two, I didn't get all the batteries with it. I bought an open box deal. It was probably some return, but it saved me a few dollars. It saved me about $20 at the time of purchase. However, I contacted the online seller, and they actually gave me, I believe it was $15 or $17. It was some percentage of the price back, and so I got the sight for around $60, and for me that was fantastic, or $65. So for that price, I think it's fantastic. Certainly down the line I'd like to upgrade to a nicer sight like an EOTech, but this sight performs really well, and I love how it has different reticles, it's quick detach, and it's pretty solidly constructed. And I'm actually going to detach it because, at least for close range, under 100 yards, under 50 yards, it returns to zero pretty well. So as you can see, it has a quick detach lever here. That's how you would adjust windage with the supplied Allen key. You can adjust elevation up here. If I remember correctly, I think it is reversed, where if you spin it this direction, it doesn't go up, it goes down. On this side, we have the battery port. It has a nice tether on it, which is good because I'm sure you would lose this pretty quickly out there. And then the battery port itself, which is actually pretty neat. It's actually magnetized, so when you go to stick the batteries in there, they do stay in pretty well. It does cause a little issue when trying to put batteries in though, but maybe it's just my fat fingers. On the back, you have different reticle choices here. You have a dot within a circle, crosshair, simple dot, and a dot within a crosshair. So far, I tend to like that one, although I do switch back and forth. When you get the sight, it'll come in a little box like this. Mine has a million stickers on it because it was stickered up by whoever had before me, whatever shop, online store had it. But it comes in the box, Sightmark Ultra Shot QD reflex sight with a digital switch. I like the digital switch because you can change the intensity levels. But when you get the sight, when you open the box, you get this little wrench for adjusting the tightness of the QD mount. You get an Allen key for adjusting elevation and windage, and you get a little lens cleaning cloth, which I think is nice. Yeah, you also get catalog and instructions in the box. You get this little carrying case. It's sort of like a little neoprene stretchy case. I still don't know why you put it in this way. It doesn't really protect it that much. I would think that there might be some better design. Maybe you can stuff it in this way. I'm just never able to get it in that way. So I generally don't use the case. Sometimes I'll just stuff it over there on top of my rifle, but it comes off. So while this is a nice touch, maybe if you know how to use it better than I do, you can tell me, but it's just kind of a novelty. So the sight is pretty sturdy. It has this outer housing on here and then the inner sight in there. I was kind of hoping it would install like an EOTech, where this is the back and this is the front. I think it would look a little bit nicer that way, just from an aesthetic point of view, but it installs like this, so you can obviously see the switch and the controls from back there. It's just the way this thing works. So to install it, simply place it over your rail to the desired position. and close the quick release lever. I did have to play around for a while to get the wrench in there to get this to tighten down. But basically you take it out like so, push the side in, you wrench it in so this gets tighter, and then when it's pretty tight closed, open it up, stick it on your rail, and tighten it down. But it is pretty easy with the backup sights to get a decent sight picture through here. Just obstructs your kind of peripheral vision a little bit doing that, but I don't really find any problem with that. But I did like the quick release, just in case, you know, if I ever have to use this in a life-threatening situation or a dangerous situation, you know, I want to be able to get rid of this quickly if it fails, because while this is a nice sight and it's great for the money, it's good entry level, just taking it on range days, I don't know how confident I would be if I were you know, in law enforcement or the military. I don't know that I would trust my life to this sight on an everyday basis. Once in a while, you know, something happens in society and you have to get away for a weekend or get away, you know, I would certainly trust it. But for day-to-day duty, you know, you're probably better off spending the money. Your life's worth more than $60, so you might want to upgrade. So in the future, I would certainly upgrade, but for fun, for range days, even for maybe even light duty, it certainly does the trick, and it definitely gives you an idea what kind of reticle style you like, and if you prefer this open hooded design or if you prefer a more tubular design. The sight takes 3 AG5 cell batteries. They're basically little watch batteries. Good luck finding them in most stores, and when you do find them in a store, they're going to be ridiculously expensive. I found one at Radio Shack and they charged me $9 for it, and I was dumb enough to buy it because I wanted to see if the sight worked. But when I got home, I went online and I bought 50 batteries for less than $10 shipped. So stock up because you're going to need them. The website says that it will go 25 hours on the brightest setting with the batteries. That is impressive. I haven't seen that kind of performance yet. Now, I haven't let it run 25 hours on the highest setting. I have done range days, which anywhere from 4 to 8 hours, and they have lasted. What I have noticed though is that I do go through batteries quickly. I used to store the batteries in the unit with it off, and I would come back to find the batteries all dead. So don't store the batteries in the unit. There must be some sort of power draw in there, however minute, and it drains the batteries. But they are pretty cheap when you buy them online, so it's technically not the end of the world. I haven't seen that kind of battery life, and from the forums when I was doing research on a site, when I was looking up reviews on these things on Optics Planet and other places, people were getting much less, maybe a day's worth of battery, maybe less than that depending on what you're using. I found that this sight, as opposed to the versions that didn't have the quick release or the digital switch, it's almost identical, except people were saying that it wasn't bright enough, but that this one was. Maybe it's the brightness setting, maybe there's a difference, I don't know, but I find even on the brightest setting, it will work fine in daylight. It does wash out a little bit, but again, you're in bright daylight and you have a little sight like this. If you're that concerned about it washing out that much, you know, spend more money on a sight. For this amount of money, I really enjoy this sight, and I would buy it again if I had to for another rifle, or shotgun or anything. But I would upgrade to something more substantial to trust my life with if I felt it was necessary. I'm going to show you how to put the batteries in here. You unscrew the side. It has a little flathead, but I don't think you need that. You probably stick a quarter in there if you had to. It's tethered, so sometimes I swing the tether out of the way a little bit, although it's a little hard. Now you drop the batteries in. Let's see if you're going to be able to see this. Now that went in the right way. That went in the right way, so maybe we're in luck today. And that one went in the right way. Sometimes they don't, and I end up using my needle nose pliers to get them in and out. But let's see if this works. Yep. Now there's 5 brightness settings you click through. Just press the switch and you go through the settings, and then to turn it off you press and hold, and it's off. The only caveat I have with this sight is this red here. It does give off a good reflection, and you can see my face in there right now. But it really does show. You know, if I were in the field, you know, if I was going to use this in a any type of situation, you might want to cover this over, maybe get a stocking or somehow kill that reflection on there. But other than that, you know, it's a great sight. It's definitely feels solid. It doesn't feel like it's too cheap, again, especially for the money. You know, I believe it's Chinese made. Again, you might have a problem with that. I do to some extent, but when it comes to $500 versus $60 for something I might just use at the range or an emergency, I don't really have a problem with that. And again, you know, it is what it is. We're in a state of affairs where we are, and it's going to take a lot to go back to American manufacturing, if ever, at a reasonable price. You know, I just don't think the world wants it. You know, what do they say? Love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. So, but we have it. I have it. If the Chinese ever invade, I'll use it to stop them from invading, but I don't think they will. Okay, so reticles. They say, I think it's under 10 meters, that you do get a parallax effect, which means it gets kind of blurry. So if you're going for real close range, it is going to be a little blurry, but outside of that, it's fine. But this is the circle dot reticle at the highest setting. So let's try and drop it down. There's 4, 3, 2, 1. Pretty clear. It's pretty clear for what it is. 3, 2, 1. So I'll leave it on 4. So now let's flip through to another setting. And these do tend to maintain 0, at least in my experience. I've seen others or heard others that have lost 0, but it does seem to maintain 0 pretty good, at least for close quarters. And I really don't know why you'd want to use this anything other than that, because it's only 1 times magnification. Single dot. And the last one. And that does bring up the last part, that it does co-witness with iron sights on the rifle. So I'll try and show you that. So as you can see, it does co-witness here with the sights without a riser on it. And let me open the aperture a little bit here. These are the Magpul backup sights and a standard A2 front post. I don't know if we're going to be able to see this, but it's there. So overall, I really enjoy the Sightmark. I would purchase it again. Again, for an entry-level sight, especially if you can find a deal or an open box deal, I think it's totally worth it. It leaves plenty of room for standard iron sights or for a magnifier if you so desire, and it works great. No problems with it so far. It's very clear. I like the settings. I like the choice in the reticles. I like the quick detach lever. I like the digital button, which is very nice. It makes it very easy. You can just reach up and pop it with your thumb. You know, if you're a lefty, the thumb isn't going to work, but it's still a good sight. So here are the specifications. 1 times magnification. The objective lens size is 33 by 24 millimeters. The field of view at 100 meters is 35 meters. You get a pretty good view when you're out there, but again, you probably should keep both eyes open and learn to shoot that way. I find it's very easy to shoot that way with this sight, a lot easier than with iron sights, but again, that comes with practice. It says the eye relief is infinite. You know, you just keep looking through it and you see the sight. The reticle is 4 pattern. It's a red reticle. You cannot change the color. They do offer other sights on their website with different colors. I like the red personally. I think it stands out better. The battery, 3 AG5. Again, they said 25 hours on the brightest setting. I've yet to see that. Brightness settings 1 to 5 and off. And it says that this one can take up to a 50 caliber round. So if you're shooting .223 or .556 military load, you'll have no problem with that. It comes in matte black, and it is waterproof. I don't know how waterproof it is. I've had it out in light rain, and it's been fine there. Shockproof, yes. Fogproof, yes. I haven't had any fogging, but it does get some dirt or some water or spit or other things do end up getting on the lens a little bit, but it's not a big deal. Clean it with this cloth or another cloth to not scratch the glass. Comes in a red coating on the front. Again, the coating probably helps with vision, but it does give your position away. It does have a quick detach for this rail system. It's made out of aluminum, and they say the operating temperature is anywhere from 0 degrees to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you're in any colder or any hotter, you might want to get something else, or just go inside and say it's too hot. Dimensions 94 by 56 by 56 millimeters. Weighs 7.6 ounces, about half a pound. Most of the weight of your rifle is in the barrel anyway, so you're really not going to notice it this close to the center line or the fulcrum of the weight, so you're pretty good there. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this helps you determine what sight you want to get. Maybe you do want to get the sight, maybe you don't want to get it. There are a few good reviews out there that I may post links to below. So please like, favorite, share, and subscribe. And please leave a comment below. Let me know if you have this sight, if you have any experience with it, if you found another budget sight that you think is better. Love to hear all the comments. Love to get in touch with you guys. I appreciate the subs. So keep it up. This is a Sightmark Ultra Shot QD or Quick Detach Digital Switch sight SM 14000.